I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with Kathleen Dutton, who is a Michigan-based author who, after a rewarding career as a clinical cardiac engineer, has turned her lifelong passion for writing into a full-time pursuit. With a knack for creating immersive narratives and complex character, she finds inspiration in the rich history and natural beauty of her home state. Her debut novel is called Out of Habit, and it offers readers an intriguing exploration of personal trauma, resilience, and the possibility of profound transformation. We're delighted to have Kathleen join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the folks at Inks and Bindings for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel. Kathleen, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford, for having me. This is delightful.
Pleasure is all mine. Call me Logan, please. I feel like I'm in
Okay.
trouble when people call me Mr. Crawford. I feel like I'm back in
No,
Catholic school. And they're saying, Mr. Crawford, we need
that's
to
my
talk to you.
father.
That's what the nuns would say to me. And they were not out of habit. They were in their habits at the time.
I did the same thing.
I'm kind of doing like a little backstep into what your book is about. Your book is about nuns, and it's about an orphan, a child who has been raised by nuns since she's been 10 years old. And why don't you give the folks at home a little overview of what your story is all about?
Okay, well, the main character is Allison,
Mhm.
and she went through a very traumatic beginning,
Mhm.
and she doesn't remember anything about the day her parents were murdered.
Right.
So she's an orphan, and she did not speak for because of the trauma. And so she lives with nuns at St. Ives Institution, and they raised her, and she learned sign language, and she eventually talks. She's now graduated from college, and her guardian, Sister Margaret, wants her to live on the outside. And Allison, all she wants to do is become a nun, but she's not really experienced life. So Sister Margaret, her guardian, sends her out for a year to live and get a job and experience life. And she runs into a rookie reporter, Ryan, and so they connect, and she wonders if becoming a nun is really what she wants. So through this, they become very close, but Ryan suspects there's a story because she starts to get mail with clippings from her early childhood that was on newspapers. So she begins to get parts of news clippings, and they're terrifying to her because she just doesn't remember. And so Ryan, with his help, she's very insecure. She's very, not, she's very frightened when she's receiving all these emails. And then once she graduates from college, she is entitled to a very large trust
Hmm.
from her father, not the stepfather who was murdered. And so she starts getting, requests for ransom, requests for the money, and or something will happen to her or her loved ones. A fire breaks out at St. Ives, and there's many twists and turns, and we really don't know who the perpetrator is, and no one has guessed yet.
Wow.
So with Ryan's help, she becomes strong. She wants to fight. She wants to, and that's where the out of habit, we sometimes we dare to make changes,
Right.
which are hard to do when you've been raised. And she eventually learns the truth, and happily, I always believe in happy endings.
Right.
So I have to
Awesome.
throw that in there.
Okay, sounds good. Happy endings are needed in this world, that's for sure. You've
Yes.
created quite a world, very unique characters, very unique locations. I'm assuming that part of this is your experience, but you've imagined it and exaggerated in some areas. And tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind it.
I started writing before I could write.
Mhm.
I created worlds with imaginary friends. It was a means of escape. My mother was mentally ill
Mhm.
and very narcissistic. So I had to escape that environment to create worlds where I could go to. And I pursued that all my life. And eventually, I'd have these very vivid dreams as an adult, and they became stories.
Hmm.
So I do have another book out too, just came out, Web of Silence. So they're all based on a young woman who's facing traumatic past. And if I may, can I share with you a quote from my
Absolutely.
narcissistic mother?
Absolutely.
Mom, I'm starting to write a book. Oh, well, I hope it's not about me. I mean, wouldn't you praise your child? And so quickly, I just said, Mom, you don't have to worry. I always kill the mother off in the first chapter. And she was very happy about that.
That's funny. That is funny. Now,
Yeah, I'd like to share that.
yeah, that's great. So, do you feel that writing about these protagonists, these women who have been abused, who have manifested a silence about them as well, do you find that therapeutic at all?
Well, my husband, I've known him since fifth grade, and we were just friends all the way through high school.
Mhm.
And he is the one, I'm up in the clouds and he holds my foot. He's
Mhm.
very stable and grounded, and he's my rock. And he helped me to overcome the trauma. So it really is based on my own experience.
Yeah,
When you meet someone who truly loves you unconditionally, you can really make changes. And that's the inspiration in most of my books.
wonderful, wonderful. Now, when you speak about trauma and nuns in the same interview, I got to tell you, the nuns I had in school, I was educated by nuns, priests, and brothers.
Oh my
And
goodness.
the priests and brothers were fine. The nuns were very, very tough.
Oh yeah. We'd
Did
have
what?
to kneel and our skirt had to touch the floor.
Right.
And then we'd roll it up and walk around in mini uniforms, and they'd
Yeah.
wrap us on the knuckles with a ruler.
Exactly. Exactly. I wasn't even rolling up my skirt, and still I was getting knocked on the knuckle and pulled by the hair and the ear
Oh,
by
and
the
the
nuns.
ear,
Yeah.
the ear.
Yeah.
What was that
Yeah.
about? Chin. Oh, the chin grab. To look
Uh,
at him, and you didn't want to look him in the eyes because you saw things.
yeah. Yeah. But I had one nice nun. Her name was Sister June, and she was very kind and very smart, and she was great. But the other nuns were pretty mean. So why did you decide to write about nuns? And these nuns are not so mean, right? In your book?
No, they take in Allie, and they take in other children that are orphaned. And Allie eventually is a teacher for the deaf children at St. Ives. So
Mhm.
um, I don't know why it was
Yeah.
nuns.
Well, I think it's a great element because it's kind of mysterious, it's kind of intriguing. And I think those of us who, I don't know if too many nuns exist anymore.
Oh, yes,
Um,
they're in hospitals, but they
yeah.
wear civilian clothing.
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't
And
know it. You wouldn't know it.
if
Yeah.
they're in habit,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
went to a lot of
They were
Catholic
transitioning
hospitals.
into like civilian clothing. The same with
Yes.
nurses. My mom didn't like that. She didn't like when a nurse didn't have her almost like a habit on either, you know.
Oh,
So
well, the hat was very important.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
We're old school here, that's for sure. But it's great to go back this memory lane a little bit because it's what inspires our story. Who was your first reader of the book? Your husband?
My daughter.
Your daughter? Okay. And tell
And
me what that was like and what her reaction was like.
well, I came out of the closet as a writer when the kids went to college, and I was, oh my gosh, we were very young when we had them. So, um, yeah, I missed my best friends. And my husband suggested I start writing. So that's what I started doing because I have 17 manuscripts that live under the bed.
Wow.
And I need more time. I
Yeah.
need an assistant. So, okay, I forgot the
No, we were
question.
talking about your daughter and her
Oh,
reading the book for
oh,
the first time.
well, the first time she read it, she called me and said, Mother, I have to read it again because all the way through I said, my mom wrote this. My mom wrote this. And she was very proud and she was very surprised. And I'd never told anyone that I was a writer.
Mm,
And so then she had to read it again to really appreciate it.
yeah.
So,
Exactly. Well, I think kids don't fully appreciate the complexity of their parents until they are
exactly.
adults. Yeah.
It's kind of one dimensional. That's
Yeah.
mom,
Yeah.
that's dad.
The knower, the provider, the doer.
But
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 yeah.
when she got in, she just couldn't believe it. And so that inspired me a great deal. But what is my daughter going to say? It sucks.
Well, you
Oh,
never know. Well, she
sorry.
might not read it at all. I mean, I think that's what a lot of kids would do, you know. So the fact that she read it and then wanted to read it again is like getting 5 stars, that's for sure. Tell me
Oh,
about the character of Ryan Harper and why you developed him.
well, Ryan Harper was developed because Allison or Allie needed something to help her overcome the trauma, overcome the insecurities, overcome the sadness of it
Mm,
all. And Ryan is new to the town and he's a rookie reporter. He just came out of, college too. And so he's a photographer and he does the sports photos.
mm,
But when she actually runs into him on a rainy night, and literally, and they just connect, and he's hungering for. She's so mysterious,
mm,
and he's her rock. He's her Paul. That's my husband.
mm,
So he helps her through,
mm.
not without ups and downs and a roller coaster ride, but he
Yeah,
holds her down.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Somebody there to be with her on her journey, the ups and downs of that roller coaster. That's for
Yes,
sure.
and she's never had that type of support before. I mean, the nuns were great, but they didn't get it. They were told when she first came to St. Ives that if you tell her what happened, let her remember on her own gradually. If you
Mm.
tell her, it might be too traumatic.
Wonderful. Tell me
So,
about the setting of Northern Michigan and how it influences the tone and the events of the story.
I love the Great Lakes. They're the Great Seas,
Mm,
but they're inland, so they call them lakes.
yeah.
I mean, Lake Superior is greater than 900 feet deep. And I mean, people surf. There's no sharks. It's fresh water. You got it all except short season. But I love
Exactly.
every single season in Michigan. I just love Michigan. It's so welcoming and beautiful and
Yeah.
yes.
It's a
So
gorgeous
my
state.
books are always, we have a lake home up north
Mhm.
and up north.
Mhm.
Everyone knows where that is.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. That's wonderful. Tell me what you hope readers will take away from Allie's story and the different themes explored in the book.
A lot of the comments I've received or in the where they evaluate the book, it's about you can change. You don't have to live with this trauma. And that's what I hoped would come out that yes, if it and I persevered everything.
Mhm.
I mean, from being told I would amount to nothing,
Mhm.
I became one of 8 clinical engineers for Johnson and Johnson in
Mhm.
the country. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm pretty persistent.
Yeah.
Don't tell me I can't.
Right. Right. Well, that's the secret to life. It's all a redemption story. And I think kids that are given a harsh or hard upbringing can either learn to bend and snap back or they break. And you weren't about to break. So that's your resilience right there, right?
I was about to break. Oh yeah,
Right.
many
Well, you wouldn't
times.
let yourself break. You were about to break, but you didn't
No,
break. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But I read a book and it's about children who have overcome the most horrific childhoods
Mhm.
and they persevered as a doctor. This guy hid in the closet while his mother did tricks and they had no food. He became a doctor. I mean, just something in your mind, it's special to be able to overcome the trauma. You have to have that fight in you. I'm the one who stood up and protected my siblings in my mom's face and so I got all the brunt of it, but I was the only one that was strong enough to take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
And
see
I'm
that,
still that person, but
right?
yeah, I had a lot of growing to do. Yes.
Yeah. It's tough when you are this one strong child who stands up in an abusive household. You become a magnet for trouble, you
Yeah.
know, from mom or dad or both, or even extended family in some cases. Well, it's a wonderful book. The character's name is Allison, and she has quite a journey to relive, remember, and quite a ways to go as well on her journey. The name of the book is Out of Habit. The subtitle is Sometimes We Dare to Change the Things We Do Strictly. It is a book you won't want to put down. It is a mesmerizing, imaginative tale. It is written by Kathleen Dutton, and she has written quite a tale with this book. You can find out more about Kathleen and her work on her website, KathleenDuttonBooks.com. And Kathleen, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
I'm so blessed to have had this conversation with you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. I enjoyed it myself. And for the
Thank you.
folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on Spotlight.